The Ram 1500 Rebel. It's the most off-road focused truck in the Ram 1500 lineup. We have to know it's nowhere near as capable or off-road focused as something like a Ford Raptor would be. That's not to say it's not plenty capable in itself. It's got these special Goodyear off-road tires. As equipped with air suspension, it's adjustable, also slightly higher in terms of ride height. It's got skid plates to protect various important powertrain bits. In terms of its powertrain, this one has the 5.7 liter Hemi V8. There are two other engines available. You can get a V6 with that e-torque fill kind of hybrid assist, but very few people are going to option a Ram 1500 Rebel with that V6. You'll be hard pressed to find one. There's also the V8 with that torque fill that sits above this one. 8-speed automatic transmission, rear-wheel drive with 4-wheel drive, high and low and such. Overall, this is a pretty badass truck for somebody who doesn't want the dedicated off-road Baja truck type of thing like a Raptor. It's kind of along the lines of something like a Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. It's off-road capable, but still plenty usable as a daily driver truck. On the outside, the Rebel gets slightly different grille, a lot of blacked out trim. It's the most aggressive looking truck in the entire lineup. As I mentioned earlier, you can see these off-road tires, air suspension. You can have it to the lowest kind of easy entry mode. This is currently raised all the way up into off-road mode, and it's got actually a ton of clearance. Coming around the side, this is the crew cab, so we have the most amount of space. It is a long, big truck. I'm 6'3", and I feel short next to this truck. They are massive, partially as I'm not used to driving a full-size pickup truck, but that's how big they all are now. On either side, we've got the Ram boxes, which are actually really practical. One downside, it does eat into kind of your lateral space in your pickup bed, but if you're just trying to put stuff in here, it's really convenient on either side. And then also around the back, this one is equipped with the steps to help you get in, so you can put that down because it is a very tall pickup truck. So that's help you climb into the bed of the pickup. Overall, I think obviously the Rebel is the most aggressive looking, the most badass looking in the Ram lineup. And I think overall this generation of Ram 1500 is the best looking truck in the segment. The inside of the Ram Rebel is really impressive. My favorite part is this giant 12-inch Uconnect touchscreen. You can split it. You can have climate on top, your media below, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto running. It looks really, really nice and responds really well too. And you also have redundant physical controls there, so not everything is nested in that touchscreen. Your climate control, you have a toggle switch for raising and lowering your air suspension. On the inside, I mean, it's a large vehicle, so it's also very spacious. Tons of storage space. I swear you could probably fit 3 or 4 gallon jugs of milk in the center console area. You flip it up, it's got like your tables for trig stuff and other mathematical support if you need that. The interior materials are also really nice. This has the leather trim seats. It's got some red stitching. As a Rebel, you've got some of these red, like anodized trim pieces, a bunch of Rebel badges all over the place. Panoramic sunroof. This is a very expensive truck. It's $64,000 as equipped. So you expect it to have some of these luxury features, but honestly, I haven't come up with a single very massive complaint with this interior. I guess the only thing is the rotary shifter. Some people don't like that. I've heard the joke of like you're driving down the freeway and you go to change the volume on your radio and all of a sudden you're in reverse by accident. It's got all these really cool special features and little like things too. Like you can take your phone and slide it right into that slot and it holds it right there for you. There's even a little channel cut out so you can plug it in for charging it or running Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It is really comfortable. With the air suspension, it rides really well, even on these off-road tires. Also, as a crew cab, I can sit behind myself and still have plenty of leg room. Extremely practical, spacious. The heated seats and heated steering wheel in the Ram are also very impressive. They get extremely warm. The heated steering wheel in this, I'm not exaggerating, probably generates 2 to 3 times as much heat as the one in my Audi RS7. I got out of this, hopped in the RS7, was like, where's the warmth? Come on, Germans, get it together. This heated steering wheel is excellent. It gets very warm, and it's nice in these horrible, cold Michigan winter days. No, I can't think of any very serious complaints about the interior of the Ram 1500 Rebel. The Ram Rebel is obviously a larger vehicle, but it's kind of normal for the size of the segment these days. It seems everything has grown significantly. A new Ford Ranger is probably the size of like a mid-2000s F-150. And this thing does feel big though. I'm not quite used to driving vehicles of this size. It has a 1 inch higher ride height, so it's gigantic. You actually seem to be taller than a regular F-150s or Ram 1500s. You also have this really aggressively bulging hood with all the vents and stuff, which I don't believe is functional, but it looks cool, but it has the added downside of completely compromising your already kind of crappy front visibility. This truck does not have a front camera. You can option 360 cameras on some of the other trim levels. This one doesn't have it, so parking it is a little of a pain. I'm in a downtown area now, downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is a small city, but even then, trying to get around, it's big. On-road behaviors, the Ram is actually pretty good, even though it's the Rebel. It has these off-road tires, which are pretty capable when you're off-roading. And on the road, they actually don't compromise the ride refinement or the noise. You hear a little bit of noise on freeway speeds at 70, but it's nothing extraordinary. It's actually pretty refined on the inside. So as a luxury truck, the Ram Rebel does great. Driving-wise, it's rear-wheel drive normally, and with a 5.7-liter V8 making almost 400 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque, you can get the tires to squeal, which I have done a couple times. You can have this differential on this truck. The steering is extremely light, but it's almost friendly when you're maneuvering such a gigantic vehicle. I absolutely love the air suspension on this truck. Not only do you get a pretty comfortable ride quality on our horrendous Michigan roads, you also have the adjustability of the ride height itself. So when you're coming down to a stop and you want to make it easier to get in and out of the truck, you can lower it all the way to entry-exit. There's a normal ride height, and actually there's a step below that that's considered like aerodynamic ride height mode. And then there's off-road. And the delta in the ride heights is actually crazy. I put it all the way up for off-road mode, got out, I was like, whoa, that's really tall. And then drop it all the way to entry-exit. It's like the whole car, you can feel the whole truck lower and see it as it goes down. So air suspension, I think, is absolutely a required option on a Ram 1500. This has some of the other luxury features, the panoramic sunroof, that's nice. Some of the utility features, like we mentioned, it's got the Ram boxes in the back, the pickup bed step to get in. But overall, it's such a well-rounded vehicle. It's practical, it has utility, it has luxury, comfort. It sounds good with that Hemi V8. Only downside I can think of is it feels like I'm driving a city bus, and it's just enormous. To maneuver, to park, to not run over pedestrians, makes things a little more difficult. I made the mistake of doing this video now in downtown Ann Arbor, and there's students crawling all over the place. I used to be one of those students, but I'm being very careful not to run over a college student and have to pay for their tuition. So to sum it all up, the Ram Rebel is off-road capable. It's a little more off-road focused. It has some of that added equipment as standard, but it's not so dedicated to off-roading where it becomes not a great road truck anymore, a daily driver. You could daily drive this without a problem. Now, would a Laramie or a Limited or even a Bighorn be a little better on the road with less aggressive tires and maybe a little bit smoother of a ride? Probably, but it's a truck. They have utility. They are, at the end of the day, typically supposed to be tool vehicles. They've kind of become more luxury trucks now. But I think the Rebel is really cool. It strikes a balance between it with the cool badging and the tires and the wheels and the lifted suspension. And then on the inside, all the nice features, the heated steering wheel, the heated seats, the excellent sound system, the great Uconnect, the spaciousness. I can't find anything that I really terribly hate about it, and I've really enjoyed the week with it. Downside is I've been averaging 12.4 mpg. It's rated at somewhere between 15 city and 17 highway, or no, 15 city and 21 highway for I believe a combined 17, which I have somehow not even come anywhere close to achieving, despite having some freeway stints and not driving like a complete maniac. Also 33-gallon fuel tank, just under half. Probably gonna have to fill it up by the end of the week, and I'm not looking forward to seeing how much that costs to fill up. At the end of the day, the Ram Rebel 1500, great improvement. I remember driving the Rebel when it first came on, the previous generation. So this is the refresh one, new lights, new interior stuff, excellent updates, plenty capable in some light off-road conditions. I didn't get to take it like hardcore off-roading, didn't have that opportunity, but even in snow, crappy roads, some dirt, it was fine. It was excellent, a lot of fun, unique features. I've enjoyed the Ram 1500 Rebel. If you're thinking about a pickup truck in this segment, definitely take a look at it if you want something a little more badass than your run-of-the-mill Big Ram or Bighorn, whatever they're called. There's so many different trim levels. Anyways, hope you guys like this video. Make sure you check out the vlog I filmed, spending the entire week with it. We get into a little more in-depth with it, and Helen shows up and struggles to get into the Ram. Thanks for watching, guys.